Welcome, everyone, to today's Peace Talks. I'm Vidette Mayer. In case you don't know, in case you're new here, whether on live or in the recording, hello, Jessica. Good morning to you. I'm pretty sure it's morning there where you are. And welcome to everyone else, whether again on the live or on the recording. This is the place we come together to serve up some spiritual food or spiritual intelligence to just simply tune into the peace and restore the peace within. This topic of peace is so much on my mind right now because what you can't hear now, thank God, is I talk about here in Saranda, Albania. This is the Riviera part of the Ionian Sea. And we have a lot of tourists that come during the summer. Riviera season was quite overwhelming to Bud and I, which we are two people who just love nature, love to be in the silence, and it was quite chaotic. So when Riviera season ended, and it was almost like it was like a switch, and it was just done, and the people were gone, and we're like, silence. And then we had about 2 or 3 days of silence, and then what we forgot about was during the summer, construction can't happen because it's too loud, but construction starts back up, and we've had a building right a block down from us that has been jackhammering all day long all through the weekend, and it just rattles us. It rattles us, and it goes to about 8 o'clock at 8:30 at night. And by then, we like Bud and I it is testing every ounce of us being able to stay in peace. So I will tell you that Gus knew what it was doing when it sent me to Saranda to really administer to peace and to keeping the peace within and to delivering peace. And at the same time, Gus also knew what it was doing by giving me the call to share these nuggets, what was the daily tune-ins and now the peace talks, because I've got to be in peace. I have to be able to tap into that space that no matter what is going on in my environment or in my being, it not forces me, but I have to be committed to this practice. So I share a lot of what I share with you about my surroundings and my life and what goes on in my own life, so that I don't sit back and choose the easy road. I've got it all going on just like all of you. So walking the walk of being in peace no matter what is going on, being with what is one of the hardest lessons that we will have to travel on this spiritual journey. And at the same time, surrendering and finding that peace when everything seems so chaotic is one of the greatest forms of intelligence, spiritual intelligence. And that is why we are here, to bring our intelligences together, not our intellect, but our spiritual intelligence, our I am presences, our spirits together to remember that no matter what is happening, we are peace. We are channels of it. And this conversation that we come to this table 3 times a week is all about us remembering that we are channels of peace, and that this world and humanity and our planet is in a hugely transformational time, and it is requiring the higher intelligence of peace. So when we tune into it, we then allow our environment to receive it as well. So thank you for coming together in this space, co-creating this space. Again, even if you're here on the recording, your consciousness is still co-creating this so that we can be and beam channels of peace, even with jackhammering going on. But luckily, for like 5 minutes before I went live, they stopped. So let's hope they stay that way. So shock and awe, shock and awe. That is the when I tuned in today, this morning. I tune in every morning to kind of get my spiritual intelligence, to get the messages that come through, and for my own journey, which is which is what I share here. What comes through for me is also for you. Because if you have a question or I have a question that I ask, the answers are typically the answers for a collective who also has the same questions or is experiencing some of the similar things. So shock and awe kept coming. And I'm going to talk a little bit about that. But just to kind of give a little bit, kind of go back and on the previous peace talks, we were talking about that doorway, stepping through the doorway this week. And why is it this week? What I completely forgot to mention is the day that I did the last peace talks called Stepping Through the Doorway. That was October 9th. The next day was the 1010 portal. It's a doorway. A portal is a doorway into another world, another realm, another dimension. And I didn't even make that connection when I was given the message for the last peace talks. And yesterday I was journaling and pulling in my the intelligence. I put the date down and I was like, oh, this is the doorway. This is where we walk through the doorway, the energetic portal into the dimensional realm of our heaven on earth. So whether you have seen it in your physical world or feel it in your being yet, we all entered into a new doorway. 10 is in numerology, it's instant manifestation. It's the completion of a cycle. We have completed a cycle and stepped through the doorway to a completely different world. Why? Because we've chosen it. It's the same thing we've been talking about here. We have had this intention. We know this is the Jubilee year, that when heaven and earth starts to materialize into our worlds. We've spent this entire year and years building momentum to this year when we then step into what we can call the fifth dimensional reality. We call it heaven on earth, the Jubilee year. But this is the year, and all our job is to intentionally take each day, each moment in the frequency of being in heaven on earth, being in the expectation. The other cool thing about today is that it is 10, 11, 20, 22. And if you take the zeros out, because zeros are the beginning and the end, they symbolize beginning and the end. The other thing to remember is we are in a mathematical coded reality. Reality is all numbers, right? Everything that you see me on, this computer, this thing, it's all coding that brings my form, that brings the hologram of me onto your screen. This reality around me is nothing but numbers. I don't really get how it works, but we know enough to know that everything is a code. Today, the code is 1010 2022. Take out the zeros and you have 111. We have 111 222. That is the beginning, moving into, we've passed through the doorway and now we're in a coded day, which just begins a brand new coded reality. We talked about these new blueprints, new codes coming up through our DNA, through these solar storms. Today, we've gotten a couple of solar flares coming in, so there's even more updating going on. New codes are coming online. We are constantly being upgraded now. And you can imagine if you kept, my computer just updated earlier today. And it took a minute. It took a minute for it to do all of the upload and how to restart and do all of that thing, all the things that it does. And sometimes it's like, oh, come on, I don't have time for this. But it did it automatically because I don't ever choose it. I'm like, I'll do that later. Oh, try at night. And of course I forget to plug it in or whatever. So it doesn't update until it has to force the update. But for us, We are getting forced updates constantly with these solar flares coming in almost like daily now. It's crazy. So our systems are constantly being upgraded, and our systems, our minds and our bodies may feel the effects of it. We might feel really tired. We might feel like, we might have some physical symptoms or whatever, but at the same time, we are getting better and better and better at integrating these faster because we're coming up to the higher resonances now. We are rising up through those higher realms of the fourth dimensional frequencies now, because remember, as pioneers, we've kind of gone ahead of the pack, and we've dispersed and purged a lot of our densities. We've risen up in frequency. So we're getting into those higher dimension, the higher frequencies of the fourth dimensional, the emotional frequencies. We're getting up, and where we are calibrating in those higher states of love. Fourth, we I'm sorry, I keep saying, my Toastmasters thing is coming back. My experience in I love Toastmasters, y'all. I did it for like 6 or 7 years, and until I left Austin. But you do speeches, and then they give you feedback and help you become more versed in speaking. So I keep hearing myself say, so I'm going to work on that. However, when we start to calibrate into that fourth dimensional frequency, the third dimensional frequencies is when we're living primarily in a calibration of anxiety, of overwhelm, being overscheduled, maybe being in a lot of shame or fear. So this is the third dimensional frequency of living. When we start to calibrate more in the fourth dimensional, now we're moving up into the life expanding emotions. That's when we have a little bit more courage. We're living in the courage to sit with these waves as they come in, and we're purging more and more of these densities. We're letting go. We're pulling out of that matrix programming, where we are programmed to be in fear. And then we get up to a willingness to start changing things in our physical reality, in our emotional reality. We start to come online and understand that our spirit is guiding us. We start to become more willing to follow the spirit, to let go of anything that doesn't serve us, closing the doors. Many of us throughout this past year and in the last couple of years started closing doors that were no longer serving us, because maybe those relationships or jobs or circumstances were keeping us in that third dimensional frequency. But when we get up into this fourth dimensional frequency, this is painful. Then we can't do it anymore. So we become willing to let go of all that doesn't serve us. And that's a process, and that takes some time, because not only do we just let go, but then there's healing that has to happen in the space between, in that hallway, right? We close the door, we come into the hallway, then we get good at being in the hallway. We understand what we're doing. So closing more doors gets easier and easier. But again, we still stay in that hallway, like we talked about on the last peace talks, until we can come up into and resonate more into these spaces of love and joy. Then we start to pull in. We start to then be in a more peaceful state. We start to become more resonant with the vision or the intention of heaven on earth. What is that for us? What is it that our spirit is guiding us to? So as we started to get closer and closer to this 1010 portal, the doorway, we most likely are going to be entering through that doorway in the higher realms of the fourth dimensional frequencies, and ascending even more. This is the year that we will see many of us anchor into that fifth dimensional frequency, which is in peace. Our world, our life, our heaven on earth will be anchored in. The roots are now getting sown into those fifth dimensional frequencies, because in that space in the hallway, we allowed ourselves to be with what is until we were in peace. And then the ideas, the intention, the opportunities to expand our perception started to be illuminated with these new codes coming in. So when we walked through that doorway yesterday, we then stepped through the threshold of now being prepared to be shocked and awed by what we see with every step from here on out. Every step from here on out, we can expect to be shocked and awed in a way that expands our life. Okay. So you might be thinking, this feels too good to be true. And it will to our minds, because our minds are still like, ah, our minds are still catching up, but they're getting better. Our minds are starting to understand that they are a faithful servant to our spirit. And the mind is progressively getting more and more comfortable with being in the discomfort of the unknown. Down in the lower realms, the mind is only comfortable with keeping us safe. It has become programmed to be in fear to keep us safe for our security. How many times do we hear in our banking system or in whatever, for your security, we're going to limit your account in some way. For your security, for your safety, we're going to take away something. That's not freedom. And the mind thinks like, oh yes, that's good customer service. But no, that is a program to keep us in the fear of being limited, being restricted. As we rise up into these higher frequencies, the mind has to eventually let go of this fear and come up and be okay being in the expectation that everything is for our best and highest good. So if we get something stolen, well, it gets stolen and we learn the lesson. If something gets taken away or removed from our life, well, what am I here to learn? How is this expanding my life? How did that thing or that person no longer serve me? Let me really take a look from a higher spiritual intelligence at what this thing is that's leaving my life. And the mind is just has been completely reprogrammed now. So it is in a higher state of receptivity to accept the unknown now. So the subconscious mind has completely shifted from what it used to do, which was to keep us safe and say, no, 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 we don't do that. Our family doesn't do that kind of stuff because it doesn't work. No one's ever done that. Oh, no, 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 that's dangerous. We've never done anything like that. So we should probably stay put. We're comfortable. We're comfortable. It was a trickster. But now it's starting to change. It has started to do its pole shift to come along the journey with us, to be like, okay, this is really uncomfortable. And it is going to be shocked and awed at what it is seeing. And it might trick you sometimes to be like, you know what? This is too good to be true. And yet, is heaven on earth too good to be true? No, we can't possibly live in this physical form too good. Our divine sovereign right is to live the most expansive, most abundant, happiest, most peaceful, belly laughing, giggly, giddy life that we can possibly create while we are in this physical form. And many of us have done so much work that we are here to be that. And the mind is going to have to learn to expect it and to be shocked and to be awed. For years and years and years ago, our government said, shock and awe, shock and awe. Let's bomb some things. We've become afraid of being shocked and awed. This is the pole switch. This is where we get to live shock and awe in the most expansive way. But how do we live that? How do we live that and follow that as we walk through this door? As we walk through the doorway, it's not always obvious because life is such a subtle expansion of moment to moment to moment to moment expansion. And we might have a shocking moment where we go, and we expand open. We have this one solar flare that comes in and it just blows our mind. with what expands in our consciousness, and we see things completely different, and we just simply celebrate it and then integrate it, and we rest, we sleep, because we've gotten such a big update that we have to rest. My computer had to shut down today before it started back up with the new update. We have to do the same. So, shock and awe is going to be a little bit exhausting to the physical body and probably to the energetic body as we keep expanding this month in freedom. October is about freedom. So we do have to keep integrating and resting, and then rising again. We rise again. We rise again to be able to then be shocked and awed by life. And when we rise, the mental capability of us, the mind is then another upgraded version of itself, ready to be shocked and awed. Because what the mind is going to start understanding now is the more surprising and the more shocking and mind blowing that life starts to deliver experiences to us, it is now going to understand that it's kind of fun. We celebrate. We this is the Jubilee year celebration. So with every single moment that a new insight, a new perspective, a new expansion happens, please, this is when we have to stop and celebrate and say, "Oh my gosh, I just realized something. I have to celebrate this. Oh my gosh, this is so exciting." Because every time we're in that heart expansive emotion and we recognize it, we then tell the mind it's okay to be mind blown, to be shocked and awed. So, this is such a conscious journey of awareness, of celebration, when we have pretty much lived mostly in those lower realms, as kind of sneaking around waiting for the other foot to drop, or some things are going good, and all of a sudden we're like, oh, something's going to happen, none of this is going to be taken away. What we didn't realize was the thing that was taken away was just we were in expansion mode and something had to come out to be removed. We understand this process now. So there is nothing to fear. There is nothing to fear. There is only that which causes us discomfort that we can then celebrate and say, woohoo, I'm feeling really uncomfortable. I'm afraid of that. And I'm going to give you an example of this. I mentioned to you all that I was sending this outline to what I proposed, what I pitched to the streaming platform last week. I sat with it all week. Sunday, the last peace talks, I even said, I still don't know what I'm sending over. Yesterday, I still didn't. Finally, today, I had to send it over, and I sat down, and just like that, it came out. And I thought, oh, heck, that was so easy. That was so easy. But I sat with the piece of it all week, knowing I had a deadline, I had a time to get it. And yet, I just knew from this process now, I just trusted that at the perfect time, it would all be revealed. And it was. And at the last minute, same thing with my husband Bud, going, he leaves tomorrow. Oh my gosh, oh, my heart's so heavy. This is an example of being at peace with knowing that the separation has to take place. I don't really want it. My mind's like, I don't want to be away from him. I don't want to be a half a world away. And at the same time, my spirit's like, it's all good. We know this is okay. We know it's good. But he is having a challenge finding a place, just for a temporary space for him until I come over, until he starts to kind of get things moving on that end. And I just today, I mean, he's been scrolling on an iPad for, I mean, I swear it's like 24/7. I'm like, honey, trust this process. It's not going to come from Facebook Marketplace. We are in a different realm. Facebook Marketplace is all here. Craigslist is all down here. It's a lot of scams. People don't get back to you. The amount of messages he has sent, to how many messages he's gotten back, he's like flabbergasted by it. He's like, why do people put the time in to put these things on if it's all a scam? But this is the realm of Facebook, right? We know they censor us. We know it's a third dimensional energy on that platform on Craigslist. What we are talking about, and what I keep reminding Bud, is we are creating from up here. This doesn't have a platform. It has an energy. So, honey, just be in the joy of going back and seeing our boys and starting life all over. Be in this, and you will meet someone at the airport. You will sit next to someone on the plane that is so divinely timed that they have something or they know something. Or you get there and all of a sudden you're talking to somebody and they're like, hey, I have a place for you. That's how this world that we've just stepped through the doorway to, heaven on earth, that is how things worked in heaven. Heaven is up here. So we have to have faith that we are not going to logically figure out how to assemble our heaven on earth. This is still the practice of being in the discomfort of not knowing, the not knowing the how of how it's all created. The most important thing is that you hold in your mind, you walked through the doorway of this portal yesterday, this 1010 portal, and today, 111-222, that is the code that carries your intention, your personal unique heaven on earth, your personal unique code. It carries it forth, and it's being amplified by this solar energy that's coming in with these data packets that not only amplify the vision, but it also amplifies the DNA within you to come into a higher expression, to connect another strand into your energetic being, so that new insights, new things come online, and you start to resonate with this intention. The other thing that I want to remind you is there's a beautiful process of taking your heaven on earth. What that is, I've done it, and it's a pretty powerful process. And I do take people through this. I do offer spiritual counseling sessions, which include quantum hypnotherapy in there. So this is one of the things that I do personally for myself. When I have a new vision, when I have a new idea, when I pitched last week to Unify TV and what I sent over today, I created its own consciousness. I made it a living, breathing entity. This idea, it is now alive. It was conceived in my mind, right? So conception happens when an egg is fertilized with sperm. An idea is conceived when the idea is fertilized with consciousness, with the feeling, with the electromagnetic feeling of it. So all week, instead of toiling and fearing, what am I going to send? What am I going to send? What I kept connecting back to was this consciousness, this idea, and bringing it out in front of me and seeing it. Here's what it is meant to be. It is meant to be unified world news. This is the news that is unifying humanity. These are the stories, the organizations, and the people that are changing the world and bringing us into a higher level of existence. This is the evolution of news as we know it, that keeps us in fear and divides us. This is the evolution of news, and it wasn't on Unified TV. They want something like that. And all week, my mind wanted to say, how are you going to do that? You don't have you don't have what you need. And my spirit kept saying, she's got everything. She's got everything. And every time this piped up, I sat and I closed my eyes and I saw what this program was. I saw it going around the world. I saw it touching souls who needed it at the specific time that they see it and they say, "Oh, there is good in this world. Oh my gosh, I want to be part of that organization. I didn't even know that existed." And all of a sudden, this expansive electromagnetic field happened around me. And yes, there are resources that are still needed. And I'm asking for those resources. I have a new link in the chat up top because I do need help in creating this and having the equipment. I need a significant upgrade in the equipment so that I can bring professional looking news updates, weekly news updates, so that you can see that it's not just us that's doing this. There are people all over the world that are working every day to create heaven on earth. So from here on out, if you are moved by this, if you want to see more of this platform expand and you want to see me with better lights and going out into our towns and interviewing people that are doing great work, I want to bring that to you. However, I do need microphones, I do need camera equipment. So I'm asking for donations, whether you have equipment or whether you want to just give of your wealth. I've got a campaign that's starting to help fund this vision because everything on my platform is donation based. I say it almost every week, and you're going to keep hearing me say it because I want you to know that I'm showing up here, whether I've got the resources or not. I'm not waiting until I'm ready. I jump in and I trust this process. And I trust it, and it just keeps working. And I trust that Bud's he's gonna land in San Diego, and he's gonna have a place that he goes to. And he's gonna call and be like, "Babe, you will never guess what happened." And I'm gonna say, I'm going to want to say, "I told you so," but I'm not. So as we walk through this doorway, the tower moment, we're going to experience more and more tower moments. That tower card in the tarot is when we are shocked and awed. It used to be like, "Oh, there's the tower card. Things are going to fall." But in these higher realms now of heaven on earth, of this Jubilee year, as long as we stay in the mental and the emotional resonance of it, shock and awe and the tower moments are the things that just expand us. That is what we have available at our fingertips, at our energetic fingertips, is only being shocked and awed by life. That's what heaven on earth is. And that's a miracle and the mystical way that we can expect from here on out. And I'm going to keep showing it to you, and we're going to keep bringing it here on Peace Talk so it stays in front of you. So no matter what goes on in this world, jackhammering, whatever goes on in the political world, whatever goes on in the financial world, whatever goes on in the food world, we will be sustained. We will be taken care of, because in the world of peace, nothing out here dictates what goes on in here and what goes on in our reality. Our reality is completely different when we live in these higher realms, and this world just plays itself out. We are so far from it when we live in this realm of peace, doesn't even touch us. It won't. So as long as we stay committed to come together here and to gather in peace and to hold our own personalized visions, and I hold the vision for you to also walk in your heaven on earth, and someone over here and someone over here and someone over here and someone over here, and before we know it, we have our own little world of heaven on earth while this world just deconstructs. That's what it's doing, and we know it's doing that, and it cannot touch us. So important that we remember that that world cannot touch us. Let me make sure I've got all my notes here. Yes, so we're sowing the roots, sowing the roots. Make sure, here's the call to action for today. Here's the thing to go do. Here's the doing part. Sit down, write out, because writing redirects the mind. It reprograms the mind. Your unique writing, I say this a lot, your unique writing, we all learned how to write pretty much the same way, but we all have very unique handwriting. So when we write, it is completely a subconscious response from our mind. It recognizes your writing. It's also energy that's leaving the body out into the physical world. It's birthing something into the physical world. So when you write your heaven on earth, what it looks like, how healthy you are, you write it from the point of, I am so healthy that I can run 3 miles if I want to. I can go do this. I am so rich that I am able to have enough to spare and share. And I start to invest in my community and I start to invest in my own healing even more so. I am so fulfilled with the work that I'm doing that it doesn't even feel like work, y'all. I don't even feel like I'm coming to work today. Doing this with you is the most fulfilling work I have ever done. And I don't care about the money, and yet the money is required for me to expand this work. So it's this weird thing, but it is something that we do for now have to tune into. So I'm tuning into the currency of money. It's current, it's currency, it's a frequency. So I am tapping into, I'm creating this campaign and I've given it its own consciousness. So when I pull that consciousness into my being, it goes out and does its own work. So everything required to to sustain and to invest in new equipment and all the things that I need for this new platform and for this new opportunity that I've stepped through, it's already done. I know it. I'm not even worried about it. I'm going to mention it. And yet I know it's already done. I'm already taken care of. And so are you. So when you write that vision out, which I've already done in my I do it every day actually. I keep the vision in front of me. And I'm encouraging you to do it because when you're writing it, it's becoming an automatic response in your own mind. Your mind doesn't know what's real and what's not. So it starts to then tune in and it understands, like, oh, this is our reality. We can go run 3 miles if we want. And we're so rich, we have enough to spare and share. And oh, we get to invest in our community too. Okay. That's how we get it on board. And everything becomes then a cohesive consciousness. So as you write it out, start to feel it. Start to feel it expand in your being, and then close your eyes, envision it, see what it looks like, feel it, give it its own consciousness, and then pull it in to your heart space and breathe it into your pineal gland, because in the pineal gland, this is what creates the reality. This is what creates the hologram that we then see. You pull it into your pineal gland and then breathe it down all through your 12 energy centers. And then it's a part of you. It's part of your consciousness. Its consciousness then resides within you, and all of the data required to create it is within you, because you know that you have programmed it, you have coded it. And once it's in your consciousness, as we get these updates, as you get your upgrades, then that reality starts to project. And that's when you start to be shocked and all, because you're like, holy crap, I wrote that in my journal. I pulled that consciousness in, and now I'm seeing it in my reality. And then you're like, well, if I did that, what if I could do this? And then you write that down. So this is the year that we just keep going and up leveling as far as we want to go, so that we create this unified and expansive heaven on earth. Thank you. I'm so excited. I don't know if you can feel it, but I'm like, yeah. I'm excited. This doorway is huge. I'm probably going to do another reading, because I really love doing these readings. I think that they really help being as a supplement to what we speak about here, because I still feel like there's more for us to know about this doorway, this energetic, and it's almost like a physical doorway. I know It's not really, but it just feels like such a um, it feels like such a tangible moment in time. And yes, there was this 1010 portal. We got lots of energy flooding into us. But this week feels like I said, a tangible moment in time. I want to make sure that we understand it completely. And I'm going to do another reading to go even deeper into it. So if you haven't watched the reading from the other day, it's on my YouTube channel. You can go to the playlist that says Tarot Tune In, and I'm just using those readings as supplements to these peace talks. Not every peace talks has one, but I try to if I just feel like there's more that needs to be said, or needs to be known for us to really embody these messages, I will turn to the cards because I love it. And it's fun. It's great practice for me to tune in and go even deeper. And I always learn something pretty profound when I do readings. So I also do readings as well. That's on the information on the Tarot Tune In video. So if you want to tune in to your own intention, your own, like, any questions you have, you can get the information off of that last video, or reach out to me and I can send you the information. Okay. Y'all, thank you so much. You, like, being here just fills my heart. It's what I'm here to do. It's what I'm meant to do. I feel like I'm fulfilling a mission of some sort. I've never felt so fulfilled my entire life, and you are part of that. And I don't know how to put it into words, but I hope you can feel from my heart how important it is for me to tune in here with you every few days and just talk about this space that I have so gratefully lived in for an amount of time now that is changing everything in my life. And it's worth the work. It's worth sitting in that darkness that we have to sit in sometimes to allow that darkness to finally leave our being. It's a hard road some days, and yet it is so worth it to be here and to be so filled with life and expectation. So thank you for being a part of my heaven on earth. I love you all. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Oh, birthdays. Someone has a birthday on 10/10/10. Whoa, that's a good day to be born. Wow. Trust the process is something I needed to hear. We will be in transition in December with no direction, and I want to force one. Oh, amen, sister. Like, there's this beautiful song. I'll end with this. Oh shoot, I'm probably gonna want to sing it, which may not be so great, but there's a song that I swear it just keeps coming on for Bud and I. It's a country song, and I don't remember who sings it, but it always says, "Take my hand, let go of the plan," and it's like, I'm like, honey, this is our theme song, because I will tell you, especially in these last couple of years, Bud and I have had some pretty profound plans put together, and they have just completely fallen apart. And I cannot imagine where I would be if those plans were, now I look at them, they're so limited. They were so limited. We were going to places we knew would be cool. We knew, and how we ended up where we ended up was so divinely led that it changed us. The process was one of healing, and it wasn't easy, but it was the one that got us to peace, and it was being in peace with the plan falling apart. So trust that process more than you ever have. And I wish there were other words for it, but this is what this whole year of heaven on earth is to allow the plan to go out the door, because the plan is made in the mind, and it's only what it knows that it can figure out, and it will limit you and it will restrict you. This will take you to where your mind is blown, and it's also the mind that will say, "Oh, okay, okay, I get it now." So this is where we start to trust more than anything that the spirit always knows best. Trust your spirit. So much love to you all. See you on Thursday. Talk to you then.